Hey everybody, welcome to the first episode of Real Country with Nikki in Nashville. I am Nikki, and you guys are in for a treat today. I finally got to chat with this lady. It was totally my fault last time. We were going to do a Whiskey Wednesday together, and I couldn't make it, and I felt so bad, but we're here. And this is actually the first episode of the Real Country podcast. I used to do one called Talk Nasty to Me, but it just didn't really resonate with like where I was going. And I wanted to talk to other artists. I didn't just want to talk about, what was going on in Nashville. So here we are, and this is going to be great. So let's get going. I'm excited that you guys have joined us. Really quickly, before we chat with our super special guest, I just want to say, and maybe you might have, were you here for CMA weekend at all, or were you out doing your own thing, like Texas or Oklahoma or any or something?
Yep, we've been back in Texas and Oklahoma.
Nice. I love that. Well, I saw that you actually lived here for a while, right? For
For
some
three
time.
years.
3
Yeah.
years. We'll definitely get into that. I'd love to hear your experience. But okay, guys. So my guest today is Adara Kay, and I'm super chatted to talk to her because super chatted. I'm super excited to chat with her because I've been listening to your music a lot recently, and it's one thing, it's really good to work out to. I don't know if anybody's ever told you that, but I like to go for little workouts listening to your music because it has that super high energy. And two, I love some of your inspirations because one, I can hear it a lot in your music, and two, I love your taste in music already. So before we get to chat with her, I'm going to give you a little bit of an introduction here. Born and raised in Southern Oklahoma, Adara Kay found her grit and rock energy the first time that she stepped on stage in 2018. Since then, she's perfected a high energy performance that watchers will remember down the road. She's been able to not only share the stage with other independent artists, but she's also been able to introduce new songwriters from other states into the Oklahoma music scene. Influenced by country and rock artists like Koe Wetzel, Giovani and the Hired Guns, which I love, she opened for artists like Casey Donahue, Austin Mead, and them Dirty Roses. She has 19 original songs out on all streaming platforms, and I'm sure much more to come in 2024. My girl, how you doing?
I have been so busy lately, which is amazing. I'm exhausted, but excited.
Good. That's a good like tired, right? Is like the kind that you're doing the things that you love to do and you're always excited. It's not just like it's a totally mundane and you just kind of not enjoy what you're doing, right?
100%.
So you said you were back in Texas right now, or Oklahoma, you're back in Texas,
Oklahoma.
back in
I,
Oklahoma.
yeah, where I live, it's like right on the Texas border. So, I mean, give or take.
Nice. Well, it's a big space, so I'm sure people totally understand. And you said you've been busy. I'm assuming 2024 as a whole has been a busy year for you so far. What have you been up to?
Yeah, I mean, we really started in March. I mean, January, we had our first sold out show on New Year's, which was
Mm,
fantastic. And then we took a break in February just to gather things back together and help our set a little bit more. And then we were in Texas and Kansas, all throughout Oklahoma, and we just have shows lined up all through August at the moment. So
nice.
everyone,
Dang. Okay.
yeah.
So you're playing live a lot. Are you doing a lot of on the road stuff or are you mostly kind of sticking in that area?
I mean, Oklahoma, Texas area at the moment, which again, like I said, Texas is a big
A
space to
big
cover.
place. Yeah. It's like a whole other animal in itself. Like people think, I guess if you're not really familiar with like Texas and the Texas music, country music scene, Texas country in general, you're just like, oh, I mean, it's just like it has to be like a small subset of the genre, right? No, man, Texas is like its own animal when it comes to anything music. So that's a hard nut to crack. I'm happy for you.
Yeah.
Well, let's give the people what they want. Other than touring, I guess all the way or shows all the way throughout until August. What does the rest of the year have in store for you? Are you finding any new music? Are you writing? Or you have any releases coming? Or are we allowed to say yet?
Yeah, we do. I have
Nice.
a new single coming out. We're waiting on the album art to get done and then we'll put it on. So I'm hoping end of July, beginning of August to get that song out. I've done snippets here and there. We played in our live shows so people can kind of get the lyrics and feel like they already know the song when it does come out.
Yeah.
And then, the band and I, we've just been writing as much as possible, and we have about four new songs that they're in the works at the moment. So it's really fun to see the growth and the progress that we've made just since 2023 into 24. it's 100% growth.
Yeah,
And it's fun.
that's good. Is this band that you're currently with now, have you guys only been together since 2023?
So the band I am with now, um, yes, the one that's been with me the longest has been my bass player, and he's been with me since 2019.
Okay.
But my keys player hasn't even been with me a year yet. June 26th will be his
Okay.
1 year with us. So we're
Nice.
still pretty new as a whole, even though I've been doing this since 2018.
Gotcha. Well, it seems like you guys found your vibe pretty quickly.
Thank God. Yeah.
I could only imagine having to go through trying out for so many different like spots in a band and make sure you all
Mhm.
vibe together. But my boyfriend is a bass player as well, so I get that, they kind of have the fluctuation and stuff like that. So maybe
Oh
we'll have
yeah.
a bass player chat at some point. Um, let me ask you this before I go into the next question. How do you go about thinking about releasing music these days? I know there's always this chat in the like artist and music space about how much do I use socials? Do I use it at all? Do I do snips of my song? Do I put the whole thing in a live show? Like, how do you think about building up the most anticipation you possibly can for your upcoming releases?
Honestly, it's all trial and error.
Mhm.
Because distribution is so common nowadays and streaming is the number one thing rather than radio presses and stuff like that. I mean, you still have those, but they don't play as big of a part. And so
Mhm.
people ask me all the time, do you have CDs? Do you have a whole album? And the answer is no. Most vehicles don't have CDs anymore. And the fact of having a whole album out, people are only going to pick the songs that they want and put that to their playlist rather than the entire thing. And
Mhm.
so it's really a trial and error of figuring out how to go about releasing. I do like to have certain songs, especially ones I think that'll go well, which the ones I always think that will are always flopping, but it's fine. Again, trial and error. But social media has helped out, TikTok, Instagram, even Facebook, just connecting with those fan base and seeing what they're excited for, and maybe not even hinting that it's a new song, but posting a picture with some lyrics that they don't even know are actual lyrics yet.
Yeah.
And just trying to make that, especially this new single that's coming out, it's called Wild Card. And I've been doing merch for it for the past 2 years without
Oh,
people even
wow.
realizing it.
Okay.
So I don't
Gotcha.
know, figuring it out as we go.
Figuring it out as we go. I think that's how it works. Like everyone has their own approach to it. I don't really know if there is a right answer. It's kind of just what works for you, you know? And the more you do it, the more you'll figure it out and you'll know like, oh, my fans really enjoy it when I do merch prior or when I do teases or when I throw out some lyrics or when I do nothing and it just is a surprise drop. I think again, it's, individual to everyone. But that's really interesting that that's kind of how you think about it. I always get like a differing opinion, I think, from a lot of people that is like, yes, social media is like the be all end all. And some people are like, freaking hate it. It's just kind of one of those things where again, it's your thing, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
what would you say to somebody? How would you describe your own music to someone who has never heard it before? What would you say?
I would tell them to take country music and to take so people like Gretchen Wilson, Miranda Lambert, even Jason
Hmm.
Aldean. And I mean, you can take even the newer ones, like Elle Langley or Koe Wetzel, for example, and
Sure.
then take people like Seether, Taylor Momsen from Pretty Reckless, Hailstorm. I was like, put that together. I was like, we're not necessarily Southern rock, not just country. So I like to call us the alternative.
The alternative. I like
Alternative.
it. I'm trying to remember who. No, that's not right. Shaylin, I don't know. So there's a girl that I saw open for Lakeview. She calls hers Punk Tree. And I like I was like, that's pretty clever. And then the alternative is also very clever as well. And we can definitely see those elements, I think, in your style. And you can definitely hear it too. Taylor Momsen, I thought about pretty quickly. 'Cause she was that little girl on the Grinch, wasn't she? And then she grew
What?
up to be like a rock star. That's so funny. That's so crazy. Little fun fact for you guys out there. I didn't know that until I was like, why does she look so familiar when she did that duet with Hailstorm? But anyways, okay. Side tangent. I love that. So obvious rock and roll elements inspired by maybe like did you say like grunge rock or how do you I guess something like that?
I mean, like
Yeah.
Western grunge is another
Western
like
grunge. I like that. How did you come across that sound? Was that something you kind of fell into, like you knew from the beginning that was the sound that you kind of wanted to have, or was that also a few years of trial and error? Yeah.
It's a few years of trial and error. If you listen to, our first EP, our first stuff that's out there, it
Mhm.
definitely has that 90s, early 2000s country vibes,
Okay.
with steel and just all of these different factors. And then now growing up and figuring out who we actually want to be, bringing in these new guys to the band, we all have different backgrounds of music. And so we're all trying to put that together. And a lot of it is the rock side. And then I
Yeah.
have a mix of both.
Nice. I love that. Well, it definitely came together into something really unique and interesting. And you don't have to answer this because not everyone has to answer this, but how old are you?
I'm 25.
Nice. Okay. 25. Wow, you've been at this since 2018. So you were what, like 18, 19 when you first started kind of going all in and
Yeah, I was 18.
wow, that's so cool. Can't even remember what I was probably making dumb decisions when I was 18. I had no idea
Me
what I
too.
wanted to do with my life, right? I'm just getting into college. I have no idea what's going on. Um, and a little side note, if there are any publishers listening, your music, her music is so ripe for sync. I love a lot of the stuff that she put out that sounds like I was thinking like Sons of Anarchy kind of style, or like even some of Yellowstone, especially like a girl maybe, or like a girl can be. That one feels so like sinky to me, like in a kind of like how they had the culture while sleeping on the blacktop in the scene in Yellowstone. I was like seeing that in a scene similar, which that's just like a little shameless plug if anyone's listening. But yeah, was that something that you've ever thought about for your career, like approach for doing that with your music?
I definitely would love to have a sync. I actually submitted one of them and it got turned down, which is fine. But I was like, man, Wreck in the Morning Light, it's about a tornado. I was like, this is perfect for
A
Twisters.
Twisters album,
Uh,
right?
But seeing their music lineup and the album that is on that movie, that soundtrack alone is Grammy worthy.
Right. It's
It's
pretty
amazing.
stacked.
Yeah.
Everyone keeps saying that that'll be more memorable than the movie itself. I don't know, maybe, but I guess we'll have
Honestly,
to see.
yeah.
All power to him. Whoever put that together,
Yeah.
solid. But
Props.
if your song was about a tornado, well, there's a lot of songs about tornadoes, but
Yeah.
listen, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen, dude. It's like I couldn't imagine a world where it's not going to happen because it's just so like perfect for it. Anyways,
Yeah.
you also don't have to answer this because I kind of feel like when I ask this of artists, it's like asking them if they have a favorite child. But do you have a favorite song of yours?
I do actually. Yeah. I have two of them. I mean, it's so
Okay.
hard. They're all like your child, you know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
But Take a Chance on Me is probably my favorite that I have written, and I wrote it solo. And
Okay.
I'm not used to, I mean, I guess I am being vulnerable as just being an artist and putting myself out there.
Mhm.
But you listen to most of my stuff and it is all upbeat or, like you can run to it, you can work out to it. Whereas Take a Chance, it is that straight up power ballad. And I
Yeah.
was so scared to step into the booth and record those vocals. It was so difficult, but that's
Yeah.
probably my favorite that I've written.
Good. Maybe sometimes it's like the ones that push you outside of the box a little bit more end up being your favorite because it was like you were overcoming the comfort zone. You're just like, yeah, this is different for me. I don't know how it's going to go, but then it went well and you love it, and that's really I like that. Well, let's go back to the beginning. Not as far back as like, oh yes, your mom and dad love each other, and that was a really bad joke. I mean, when did you realize at first that you wanted to pursue music or something creative full time?
It sounds so cliche, but honestly, as soon as I could talk and walk, I performed for my family. I had a little Barbie karaoke machine and
Cute.
I could record on the cassettes and I would create different songs, just make up whatever. And then the moment I really, really realized it, I was probably 7 or 8 years old. And my dad took me to a Rick Springfield concert
Nice.
and he pulled me up on stage and I
Oh,
got to
Rick
sing.
did? No way.
Yeah, I got to sing Don't Talk to Strangers. And I was like, oh my gosh, all these people are here. And they had like their lighters out, which you don't see anymore. But I was like, I want this feeling for the rest of my life.
So you got on stage, you got a taste of that, and
Mhm.
you loved it from minute one.
Yeah, yeah,
Nice. That's not cliche. I love
yeah.
that answer. It's like people get jealous of that, I think, because many times they're also like, well, I didn't ever really know what I wanted to do, and I still don't know. And then the people who are like direct to their path,
Yeah.
that's pretty refreshing. I'm jealous of people who are like that too. What has that journey been like for you from that realization to actually like going all in to where you are now? What are some um like takeaways or realizations or revelations from your journey so far in music?
It's was really crazy. I was a hostess at this restaurant and they started doing singing waitresses or singing hostess, and this table was telling me about Oklahoma Rodeo Opry. And
Mm.
so I applied, I got in, I got to sing with a band for the first time. I think I was 16 or 17 years old. And then that connected me to a college here in Oklahoma City called ACM at UCO, where I was a live performance major. And part of my
Wow.
class was literally getting put with students, creating a band for a whole semester and performing. And that led me to my first band. And then we started connecting. And then I moved out to Tennessee, finished my school out there as a songwriting major, and realized Oklahoma was where I needed to be again because my band was home. And
Yeah.
it's really weird the way like everything has actually played out for me, because I feel like this is really my purpose is, and it's what I'm supposed to be doing.
Good. So
Yeah.
that's so interesting. I've never heard of like an educational path that way. So you've actually had like formal education in both live performance and songwriting. Wow. Guys, she knows what she's doing. Go watch a live show, listen to her music, and obviously she's developed a massive talent and also has formal education, and you said you went to school here. So it probably was it Belmont or was
It,
it Lipscomb?
it was not. It was actually Murfreesboro, it's Middle Tennessee.
MTSU. Okay. That's fun. And then you moved back. So I think I read a little bit. Then your journey was kind of like, okay, you felt like the right thing to do was to come to Nashville. And then because your band was there and you were going back and forth so much, you just decided to go back. Was something like that.
Pretty much,
Okay.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
long
interesting.
story short, yes.
Of course, long story short, because that happened over a number of years. Which again is so interesting because you see a lot of people feel like, Nashville is the calling, it's a be all end all. And then you get here and you feel kind of exactly the opposite. Like, no, I feel like, my market where I need to be was where I was. And then you kind of like fell into some success from then. So it felt like the right decision, right?
Right. Yeah.
Good. I love that. What are some stark differences that you've seen from the Nashville scene to the Oklahoma/Texas scene? There are no wrong answers, and you won't piss anyone off, I promise.
It's a whole different world. I mean, it
Yeah.
really is. I mean, and the way you were talking about Texas, Texas is also a whole other world of music. And, being on Broadway and singing no originals, which
Right.
is crazy to me. And it was so difficult for me to accept that when I had
Mm.
all this I wanted to put out there. Um, you had to be on your toes. And I think that's what Nashville taught me the most was how to interact with the crowd, how to broaden my performance on stage, and just overall learning a different side of the music industry,
Hmm.
which I wouldn't have gotten if I didn't move out there.
True. That's a
Yeah.
good outlook to have then. Yeah,
Mhm.
CMF Fest was this past weekend, and a lot of people don't I feel like a lot of people, if you're not from here and you don't understand so much the economics of playing on Broadway, they don't really realize that the people down there who are performing are trying to pursue a career independently of that performance. So it's like many people, I think, believe those performers are just there to be cover bands and not necessarily like they have any individual creative songs writing of their own. But that is so much the case. Everyone who I've ever talked to who plays down there is pursuing a career on their own. And they're just kind of going through that, maybe not rite of passage, but that journey where you're playing covers down there so you can build like performance skills and you understand how to interact with crowd and do that kind of thing. And I just think, and then you have the songwriting rounds like on the ancillary of Broadway, where then maybe you can try some of your new stuff. But it's just so interesting that around here, that's still like the only way it seems mine like without social that you can kind of, get into the national scene. Did you feel like that was kind of like the only way that you found when you were here? Or did you have opportunities to kind of play your own stuff and rounds and showcases and stuff?
I did in rounds, and then I would be able to book acoustic performances, at Tin Roof 2 and Franklin and like places like that, where I was able to play my original content, and it was fantastic.
Good.
But on Broadway, it definitely was an eye opener for me to be like, oh, I can't play this. I'm sorry, but
It's
but
mine.
like you said, there's a lot of people out there on Broadway currently. I mean, you have the Huffer Brothers, you have Abby Callahan, Kaylee Green, Alyssa Palmer. They've been doing it for years on Broadway, and people don't realize they also have their solo artist
Hmm.
side. And so it's a love-hate relationship. It really is for me, but it helps me grow as a person, as an artist, as a songwriter, as a performer. So I don't regret ever moving out there.
Good deal. Well, I'm glad. At least it doesn't like jade everybody who comes out here.
Right.
I like it. There's a ton of people who are moving here. There's like
Mhm.
100, more than 100 a day or something. I don't even know what the stats are anymore, but it's wacky. I mean, they had to like close down the entire street during CMA Fest a couple of times because of the capacity, like on an entire a street with like other streets that you could go on. Like, wait
Yeah.
a minute, that's a lot of people. So we've talked a couple of times already about how you feel that your market is kind of right in that area. How are you going about thinking through branching out a little bit and like maybe going to expanding into other markets? Like, what's your thought process when you think through where you want to go next, a new market that you want to crack, places that you want to try to perform in?
I try to find artists I want to open for
There you go.
and venue that we've never been at. And definitely going through, my market on DistroKid and seeing where my demographics are. Do I have enough people where I can be like, oh yeah, we can draw at least 50 to 75 at this venue if we could get the supporting slot, or we've opened for them beforehand in a home venue. And
Mhm.
so just trying to branch out and reach out to different venues, different managers, different bands, and then different booking agencies around Oklahoma, Texas, even Arkansas and Kansas. It's a process. It's complicated, but it's work. I mean,
Right.
it is a job. So
100%. So as an independent artist right now, and you're kind of doing everything,
mhm.
um, how do you, I mean, you hinted at it already. It is work, but how do you feel about doing all of that stuff? Like, are you kind of like, oh, well, it's helping me because I'm understanding the ins and outs of every side of the business? Or do you feel like it's just kind of a necessary evil right now? Like, how do you look at kind of taking care of everything as you're growing?
I like it to an extent. There's times where I'm reaching out to my band members. I'm like, hey, I need you to do this
Hmm.
week. I have to do all this on my end. And then working with a couple of booking agencies just recently has helped tremendously on booking shows. And I mean, just finally I can like get that breath of relief to see
Yeah.
that we're finally getting help. But the process of getting to be able to get to where we got help,
Hmm.
that was exhausting. And I mean, it's still exhausting, but I wouldn't trade it. I like to have control also,
Yeah.
but also learning the ins and outs because eventually I do want to be a venue owner and do my own booking and help with that on that end. So learning the process of not just, being the artist or the songwriter, but also learning how to be a venue manager or a booking
Hmm.
agent. It's complicated, but it's fun to see how the process goes.
Yeah. I don't know if many people really realize that so much of that like business stuff goes into it at the beginning. Well, not just at the beginning, but even throughout like the life cycle and the career of an artist's career. Because if you choose to be independent, there's a lot more things that, you do, or once you sign, you want to make sure, you're not being hopefully not taken advantage of. So you understand some of what goes into it, what a deal looks like, how to structure a deal, how to structure a set or a gig and that kind of thing, what to ask for. So yeah, good on you for liking all of that stuff. I know it's probably a lot
Yeah.
that you've got going on. Who are some of your favorite acts that you've ever opened for?
Them Dirty Roses probably is my number one.
Is your number one?
I love those guys. Not only are they fun to be around, they're just good people. They run their own merch. They drive
Yeah.
themselves. I mean, I think two of them are dads, so they're a family, and you can see that on stage and off stage, which I think is
Yeah.
very important. Um, Casey Daniels band has been fantastic. There's so many. I mean, even Austin Mead, him and his band, they're great people to work with. And just even Colby Cooper, his guys, they were
Oh
so
yeah.
fun. Yeah.
That's
There's so
awesome.
many to name, but those are the ones that off the top of my head, I'm like, yes.
Yes, that's it. Yeah, it's not like you're choosing favorites here. We get that. No, I saw them Dirty Roses once. I think it was maybe last year at Americana Fest, maybe. They were
Yeah.
like the yeah, okay. So they did a closing set at Exit Inn. And I was like, I gotta stay to watch these guys. This is gonna be sick. And it was wonderful. So I like that answer. How do you approach the songwriting process when you get into the creative mindset? Like where does most of your inspiration come from? Like are you emotionally driven, experientially driven? How do you approach that?
I think it's a mix. And then just the creative side, Evan Felker even said he creates these little stories of these characters that don't even exist. And their storylines become their songs. And so, I mean, I think a lot of it is emotional and experience. Even if it's not mine, it's maybe a story you told me, like
Mhm.
on your half. And I'm like, oh, well, let me take that from my perspective and put it in a song for you or something like that. But so the lead singer, Sean for Seether, he said, your songs that you write are you want to get rid of those emotions. So a lot of these artists, if they're sad or angry, that's the emotions that they want to get rid of. You don't want to get rid
Mhm.
of the happy stuff. And I think that was a
True.
beautiful way to put that. Because my
Yeah.
husband, he was like, "Why don't you ever write a song about me?" I was like, "When are you going to piss me off?" I was
Because
like,
you
"I'm
don't make me
happy."
sad.
Like I don't want to get rid of that happy feeling.
Wow, I've never heard that before. He is a very intelligent person, that lead singer of Cedar. So it's like you look at it in a fact where that's okay. Now I'm kind of dumbfounded and also like I'm having a really big euphoric moment because I've never heard an artist describe it. So it's like it's something that you are trying to get rid of, but it makes so much sense. Like it's kind of like therapy in a sense where you're not talking through it to somebody to release it. You are putting it into the air via some creative, mechanism. Like you have this song now in which you released that experience or you released those emotions into. Um, so how do you kind of play that back into, all right, well, you're writing that song, you're releasing some of those emotions, but now people know that you have this music and now you have to repeat it over and over when you play in a live set and you're like reliving it over and over. Is that still like applicable or you kind of just it's already let go by the time you're performing it live?
One of my favorite quotes is from Patsy Cline. And she says, if you can't do it with feeling, don't.
Mm,
So reliving some of those emotions in those songs helped me actually sing them with emotion. And,
yeah.
I don't mind reliving because that is part of my life and I don't regret or I wouldn't change anything that's gone through my path, but it does elevate the performance, I think.
Yeah.
I mean,
Absolutely. You're
yeah,
getting into it and people can
yeah,
relate more that way. There's people out there who feel exactly the same way as what you're saying and they can feel that in the live show. Well, hopefully your husband doesn't try to like piss you off on purpose just so he can get a song written
it'll be
about.
fine.
He'll be fine. Be like, listen, we're together and I'm very happy and I'm not writing a song about that because I want to keep that. And if that ever changes, then we'll address that at that point.
We'll talk.
But we'll talk. We'll sing about it together. Um, what's the craziest, or if you can't talk about the craziest, the funniest thing that's ever happened to you or your band on the road or at a show or something?
I signed this dude's underwear once. That was
Oh,
weird.
wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it was fun. Was not expecting it. And
Wow.
then I always do this back bend on stage during our last song, which
Okay.
has gotten a lot of traction lately, and I didn't think it would. But there was this one show where I completely fell on stage. Like,
Oh,
and my guitar player just looked at me, like, put his foot out to see if he like pick me back up, and I was just laying there. Like, I just
Like
couldn't.
a full back bend, like a
Yeah.
back walkover. I just let you just do a back bend on.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Interesting. And then you just fell.
Yeah.
Were people
Completely.
concerned or
I
they
don't think
totally
you
like
could
expect it?
see. So
Oh,
like at Kid Rocks, how like that stage is elevated.
yeah.
Yeah, we were on more of an elevated stage. So like on a second floor, and they were on the first floor. So thankfully they couldn't see me because I'm little too, and the railings blocked me pretty well. But I was just like, I'm stuck. I'm just gonna lay here for a second.
It's like I was just picking something up. I
Yeah.
dropped my earpiece. I'm down here looking for it.
Yep.
That's funny. Well, if we see that, if I see that in the future, I'll know then that that's what's going on. That's an interesting little like thing for your show that you add in.
Mhm.
How do you balance? Well, so you already talked about being married and working through all of these different aspects of your career. How do you balance like life, all of that life with everything else you have going on, being on the road, if family, if there's other jobs that are present, like how do you kind of think about structuring your week and making it so not overwhelming to make sure you're spending time on everything that's important to you?
It's it's a battle for sure, but I have to separate my personal life with my business life. And,
Mm.
I'm also a gymnastics coach during the week. And so I get to, help those kids out. And I do love working with children and teaching them not only just agility, but teaching them life lessons or like why you need to be dedicated to what you're doing and working hard on that. And then coming home and spending time with my husband. And then on the weekends, if he doesn't want to go, I don't make him. I'm like, yeah, we've played over 20 shows this year. I don't blame you for not wanting to come this weekend.
Yeah.
So separating that side of things. And then, my parents, we live right next door to them, so we'll do
Oh,
dinners on
good.
Sunday or in the middle of the week. So it's a really good balance that we have going on right now.
Good, dude. That I'm happy to hear that. But now the whole back bend thing makes way more sense because she's
Oh
a
yeah,
gymnastic coach. Like
yeah.
it's like that's an interesting choice of display if you didn't have anything to do with like gymnastics or anything like that.
It's interesting. People always ask me, they're like, well, how much they it's so funny. They're like, how much do you squat? I was like, what? They're like, what about bench press? I'm like, I don't work out. I was like, my workout is working with kids. I lift kids that, they range from 30 pounds to over 100 pounds. So
Thing.
I'm defying
Yes.
gravity.
That is your workout. Gymnastics is a heck of a workout. Could have never. I don't think that was not my calling. It just was not my thing. I'd probably just break myself in half if I tried to do that. What is your ultimate goal with your music career? Like you're kind of at the end and you're looking back and you're like, I accomplished everything that I wanted to do. What are those things?
Honestly, I want to play Red Rocks so bad. That would be like my moment that I actually made it. Would be like
Yeah.
Red Rocks or even Billy Bob's and I mean I would love to say the Opry, but I feel like we're slowly getting out of the country scene and more
Mhm.
into the pop scene. So if that doesn't happen, I wouldn't be mad about it. But if we can hit Red Rocks, Madison Square Garden, absolutely, I'll be like, I made it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Killer venue. That's funny. I'm going to see a Red Rock show on Thursday, actually. And I was meaning to tell me, like, or I was meaning to tell you, I think you'd be an awesome open for like a Whiskey Myers or something like that, right? And that's who's playing. I was like, Whiskey Myers at Red Rocks, dude. That's gonna be. I'll probably just die. If I died the next day, I'd just be like, it's fine. I'm good.
That's
I've done what I
that's
needed
iconic.
to.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the thing. Well, putting all the best of luck out into the world to get you there, I'm sure you will at some point. They'd have a ton of wonderful acts that go through there, man. Just yeah, that be make sure you let us all know whenever you play Red Rocks, and we'll all
Well,
be there. What's something that somebody, or no, what's something that not a lot of people know about you, whether it's like a hobby that you have, hidden talent, anything like that?
a lot of people don't know how short I actually am and until they meet me in person. They're like, you look so much taller when you're on stage. And then I'm off stage at the merch booth and I'm just like, I'm like this compared to everybody else.
How tall are you?
Short. No, I'm 5'1" on a good day. Depends on the shoes. But everybody they're like, I thought you were like 5'6", 5'7". I'm like, yeah, no. You
No.
Skills are putting in the work.
I think that's you also kind of remind me of Sean Johnson, and she lived here for a while, and I saw her a few times, and I'm like, gymnast, short. I think it just comes with the territory, maybe.
I've definitely gotten like a celebrity lookalike would be Sean Johnson. Like when
Sean
I have
Johnson.
makeup on, I'm in like my workout clothes, my hair's in, the gymnast bun. I
Yeah.
had a parent approach me during a private lesson with their kid. They're like, "Are you Sean?" And I was like, "Sean Johnson? If I no,
Uh,
I wish, but no."
That's also funny that that was the answer to like a hidden hobby or talent. I think being vertically challenged is definitely a talent, but you guys have so much spirit and attitude. I would never mess with a shorter person. They scare me, especially if you're like I mean, obviously the energy that you put into your live performances and your shows and stuff, like of course people are gonna think that you're taller. It's not like being short is gonna hinder any like
Yeah,
vocal energy and just like the prowess that you have when you're performing, right? Which is actually really cool. So then people are just like, oh wow, oh.
true,
So
true.
well, I'm trying to. That was a list of questions that I had for you. And normally, I'm gonna try to make it so it's like I can play a game with people. And I don't know yet how to do that virtually. Um, but if you've ever seen like those shows or the talk show segments where they like ask each other questions, and if you don't want to answer it, you have to eat like nasty food or you have to
Yeah.
answer. I'm like trying to figure out a way to gamify this so it's not just like, as like talking and answering questions like everything else is. But if there's some if someone came to ask you, what is one thing that you could give me in terms of suggestion, word of advice? Like if they were an artist looking to pursue music, what would you tell somebody who came to you with that ask?
Don't quit.
Don't
I mean,
quit.
and it's so difficult, and so it's easier said than done. But I think the people that quit are the ones that were about to succeed.
Yeah,
Like you don't realize how close you are to succeeding until you get there. It could be tomorrow, it could be in 2 years, but you're still closer than what you would be if you did quit.
right.
Um, I almost quit last year. I
Mm,
mean, I really did almost quit music altogether last year.
man.
And seeing what I would have missed out on if I did quit back last February, it's it's stupid. It really is.
Yeah.
So yeah, don't quit. Just keep going, keep grinding, put in the work and knocking stuff out.
Oh, yeah, that's good. I think a lot of people need to hear that. You're definitely closer than you think you are. And I'm sure everybody is glad that you did not quit. It's like that meme. Have you seen that meme where it's like two miners on every time I talk about this and like miners like mining coal, not like young people, right? So top and bottom of like this meme. And one guy's like hacking away and he's seeing like just on the other side, there's all these diamonds. And then the one above him, he quit and he started turning around with his axe. And it's the same scene. Like it's this much more cave to go through, rock to go through before you get to like this just massive thing of diamonds. There's such a like funny yet powerful image where it's just like, yeah, you have no idea because you can't see it when it's about to happen. But then when you get there, it's like, you got because you didn't quit, right? Because you
Yeah,
didn't quit.
yeah. Absolutely.
Good for you, dude. Well, let everybody know where they can find you online, where they can find your music. Make sure you go follow her. Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one stop shop is adarakmusic.com. It has all our social links. It has the music links. It has where our shows are going to be, merch. I mean, that's your one stop shop, adarakmusic.com.
Boom. And across also, you're on Apple Music, Spotify, all that. You can find that on your website as well.
Yep.
Perfecto. Guys, go do it. Thank you for tuning in. Adara, thank you for joining us. Again, find her on all streaming platforms. Make sure you sub to the show so you can catch us next week. And we'll see you next week on Real Country. Thanks, guys.